Well, welcome back to another episode of Connect, Inspire, Create, and season six. I can hardly believe that I'm at season six already. So, on this show, I love to explore ways for midlife women entrepreneurs to just find fresh ways to take action, feel inspired when they listen to what my guests have to share, prioritize self-care because that is always something that should be on our schedule, and lead with their own hearts, authentically and with the words and actions that matter to them. So, thank you for listening to the show today and welcome to my guest, Demetria Zinga. Hi, Demetri. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, Carol. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to, this topic of podcasting. Obviously, we both love podcasting, but I'm hoping that others are going to be encouraged and inspired to put this on their radar
Yeah.
as we dig in. So, to my audience, I'd love to just tell you a little bit about my guest today. Demetri Zinga is a former homeschool mom turned full-time solopreneur and the founder of Soul Podcasting Collective, a boutique agency helping purpose-driven entrepreneurs launch and grow impactful podcasts. So you're in the right place if this has been on your bucket list and you've been thinking, maybe this is what I want. So Dimitri has over 20 years of experience in digital marketing and podcasting, and she helps blend strategy and soul to support creatives, coaches, and solopreneurs in finding their voice and building brand authority. So she is passionate about helping you push past mental blocks, simplifying the tech, and finally launching projects that have been on your heart. So, with her top ranked shows and coaching work, Dimitri has empowered others to podcast with purpose, clarity, and confidence. So, welcome, welcome. Lovely to
Thank
have
you.
you.
I'm glad to
Why
be here.
not start right at the beginning? Let's tell me what first drew you to podcasting.
Wow. So 20 years ago, I was drawn to podcasting because I found a podcast, and her name is Kelly McCausey. She hosted Wham Talk Radio, Work at Home Moms Talk Radio. Is the very first podcast that I got into and discovered just by accident because I would say by accident, probably purposefully, right? Everything happens for a reason. I was a stay-at-home mom of a 15-month-old daughter and trying to find work from home. And so when I found Kelly's podcast, which was originally just an online radio show turned podcast, I was inspired that, hey, maybe this is something I can do. Right. And so I just, at the time, I was also a web designer. I had started a couple of different businesses that I was trying to do. I had worked some MLM. I had also started a soaps and body butters creation business. I had a lot of little entrepreneurial things happening, ideas that were sparking. But I had also begun an online, like a website that was sort of a ministry to women to kind of help us talk about scripture and Bible and that kind of thing, religious, but also to encourage each other in our daily walk with how we're going to relate our spirituality to our practical life. So this became what I called an online magazine. It was just a website, but I wanted to make it more in depth and make it more something that we could connect with each other. And so, in doing so, I knew that using my voice was going to have to be part of that, but it was tricky in 2004. Like, how do you turn this message into something that is more vocal than it is text? And so finding Kelly was my inspiration, and that's where I got started. And I followed her path. I said, whatever Kelly's doing, I want to try it too.
Lovely,
Yeah.
yeah. And so while you were doing that all, you said, was there a moment when you went, hang on a minute, I want to help others. This is on my heart. This is where I
Yeah.
want to take this. When
Yeah.
did you know that that was where you needed to go?
Well, when I first received a request that someone wanted to learn how to podcast, when I started my very first show was called the Christian Ladies Connects or Christian Ladies Talk Radio. And so I had a lot of people listening in who were just curious, like how did you turn this into a podcast. How does that work? I want to start one too. And that's where I started helping them. And from there, it turned into like a teleseminar series where I reached out to people from all over the Southeast, and we were able to create this boot camp, what we call the Internet Radio Podcast Boot Camp. And that's where I helped solopreneurs and entrepreneurs to start their own shows. And we launched quite a few that year in 2016, or I'm sorry, 2006. And that's where it all began. Way back then, life took a journey of its own, and I started homeschooling a few years later, and then we moved cross country. And I kind of, I waxed and waned with consulting and podcasting. And
Mm-hmm.
then back in 2023, somewhere around then is when I relaunched everything, and we're back in business. So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
So we talk about it, and it's within your name and everything else about podcasting with soul. And I have to share, I mean, to me, just meeting my guests and having these conversations, it lights me up. I love hearing other people's stories. Besides the
Yeah.
fact, listeners, I know this is for you, but selfishly, it's for me too. That when I think of podcasting with soul, I put my heart and soul into it, and I thoroughly enjoy it. What does it mean for you when you talk about podcasting with soul?
For me, it's exactly what you just said, putting your heart and soul into it, putting everything into it, and just bringing your passions to the forefront so that we are transparent and we're vulnerable, and we allow our audience to make that deep, heartfelt, and soulful connection with us. Even if they never meet us in person, they're going to meet us on that podcast, and they're going to feel that connection. And a lot of times, we don't realize how much we're helping people just by sharing our
Right.
story, how meaningful and how impactful what we have to share can help other people through their life journey. And that is, to me, what soulful podcasting is. It's like not holding
Mm.
back and just releasing what we've been given to the world and allowing that to be part of someone's journey, maybe even their healing process.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Never knowing how, and that brings me also to the part of your authentic voice, how
Yeah.
really is be you, be
Yes.
who you are. Don't be something else because, even if we think underneath this all, we're giving people an opportunity to meet us, and we are business owners, and so
Right.
we are wanting them to decide perhaps this is who they want to journey with. So
Right.
yes, we have a story that could be healing and could be inspiring, but at the same time, it's an opportunity to get to know, is Dimitri the one that I want to work with?
Exactly.
Let me listen to her authentic voice and
Right.
see if it resonates with me. So I don't know what you have to share with people about
Right.
be authentic.
Yes, no, I think that is exactly what we need to be, because if we're anything else, and if we try to be the way someone else shows up, we're not going to attract the right people into our space. And we
Right.
want to make the connection with the right audience who eventually, if they love what we're doing, and if we're entrepreneurs, as we're podcasting and we're doing this along our entrepreneurial journey as well, we're
Right.
attracting the right clients and customers to our network. And so we want to
Mhm.
make sure that we're being authentic in that we're telling our story, we're telling our truth, and we're not holding back on that. And you don't try to be like someone else, because their story is their story, and they
Right.
need to connect with the people that they connect with. But we don't
Yeah.
want someone else's clients. We want our clients. We want the right people.
Right, right, yeah. And Dimitri, just talking to coaches, because that certainly is, that's my field and that's who I work with, are the coaches. What would you say to inspire coaches to think about podcasting if they haven't, and how important it is to their business?
Right. I mean, it's such a heart to heart, soul to soul type of business. It's one on one, and it's something that you do to help your client reach that next milestone. Whatever it is you do with your coaching, and there's different types of coaching, but you're always wanting to help your client get to their next step in their transformation. And I think that podcasting is perfect for the coach, whether life coaching, business coaching, it's perfect because this way your potential client or your client can take your voice, your message along with them wherever they go. And that's
Right.
always a free resource to them. So even though, yes, they are investing in that time with you, maybe they just want a little, a little pep talk or something throughout the middle of the week.
Yeah.
And they can go to episode 55 and listen to that
Right.
to give them a pick me up for the week. And I
Yeah.
just think it's so important to keep that line of communication open with your customers and clients. And as a coach, it's podcasting is perfect. Your client can take that with them on, on the way to grocery shopping. I've had people tell
Right.
me like, I listen to you while I'm shopping, at the store or while I'm outside doing yard work or cooking dinner or something. So it's just perfect, I think.
Yeah, no, it is. That's the beauty of it all, is that you can multitask. You're
Yeah.
listening to something in the background. And I know when you mentioned being a web designer, I mean, that's one thing I have is my podcasts upload to my website. And I would encourage coaches, if you are being a guest on somebody's show or hosting your own shows, make sure that your podcast is easy to find.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Get it on all the platforms for one. And whatever you're hosting with, so if you're with, I don't know, Libsyn or Podbean, whatever you're hosting with, they always have options to upload your episodes to all the different shows or the different
Right.
hosting out there. So there's Apple Podcasts, there's Spotify, but there's Pocket Casts, there's a bunch of others, and it will be automatically uploaded to those places as well. So you want to make sure that you're everywhere that people download podcasts,
Right.
and that's
Yeah.
that's the first thing. And then make sure it's also on your website so that it's
Yes.
easily found on your own website.
Yeah. No, so I think that'll tie into this next question where I wanted to ask you sort of what are some essential steps that you would recommend before someone actually launches a podcast? What are, maybe
Yeah.
three or five, whatever you have, what are your essential steps that they need to consider and make
Okay.
note of?
Yes. So I usually go by a little four-step process. So plan,
Okay.
produce, launch, and grow. But the planning part is where all the magic happens. And it is the groundwork that has to be laid before you do anything else, before you produce, before you figure out your tools, before you launch, and then think about monetization. All that's last. So planning is number one. And I think it's important to start with your passion. First of all, what is it that you want to do? Why do you want to talk about this topic, and what makes you passionate about it? And start there. And then once you know your why, then it's about formats. Like, how do you wish to show up? Because this is a commitment. So are we showing up every
Yes.
week? Are we showing up once a month? And whatever you
Right.
choose is totally fine. If you choose
Yes.
once a month, that's okay. It's just what's good for your schedule. But really be realistic about what you can do, and stick with that. And then also your formats. Do you want to run interviews? Do you want to do solo podcasts and just show up the way that you're most comfortable? You might not even like video. That's okay. Just show up on a microphone and just upload audio. And so I think just thinking through the mechanics, but also through your passion of why you're showing up and who your audience is, who you're reaching, and why you wish to help them is going to help you lay that groundwork. And from there, you can start formulating topics for the month or for the quarter, for this next 6 months, and get some topics on your radar so that you're not scrambling last minute to figure out what you're going to do from week to week. But I think those are some essential steps, just planning.
Perfect. Perfect. Now, I know many new podcasters will feel overwhelmed with the whole techie side of things. Is that where you come in and help people?
Yes. So we do a lot of coaching with, of course, the planning process as well. But when it comes to the techie part, I understand how that can be kind of a roadblock, a barrier to entry, and our agency wishes to relieve you of that barrier. So if you have questions about what technology to use and how to integrate the best thing that works for you, right? So we're here to help answer those questions, but we also take the tech load off by doing the producing. So we produce
Fantastic.
audio and video for you. We'll do your edits, and that way you don't have to worry about that aspect of it.
Yeah, so holding their hands and
Yeah.
taking them down that
Oh,
road,
yeah.
so important. Yeah, when you have. So now I have a different question. Let's look at some of those who avoiding burnout for some of our podcasting, like myself, who've been podcasting for a while, and sometimes you get to the stage and you go, oh, I just feel a little bit burnt out.
Yeah.
Any tips on how to rekindle motivation or change things up without losing momentum?
Right. Well, with the not losing momentum part might be, I'll just say that sometimes we might have to lose momentum for a moment just in order to take a break. Sometimes we just need a break just so that we
Absolutely.
can step back and reevaluate what we're doing and come back with fresh ideas and a renewed sense of, hey, I can move forward now that I know what I'm doing. But I think taking that break is essential if we need it. And I also think some people enjoy seasons. So having a seasonal approach where you do a few episodes and then take a break that's already factored into that production process helps
Hmm.
a lot. And so that way we're always having that break integrated into what we're doing. But I just think for sure take breaks, and I also feel like it's important to know like where you're going, know that if you're kind of stuck on what's next, then maybe that is the time to take that break and figure out where you're going. Because if you don't know where you're going, then it becomes a hamster wheel. And I can't stress that enough that we can get stuck in the middle
Yeah.
of all the busy work of producing that we forget our mission. And we're just editing audios and videos and like, oh, here's this is next and this is next and another interview and another. But sometimes we just have to take a break.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one, and I actually I recorded a very short, explanation of why I was taking a break, and just gave myself permission, and I actually
Yes.
took 4 months off and
Wow.
went,
That's good.
I want to be back here, but I want to be giving the best of myself, and
Absolutely.
so I did. I needed a fresh approach, a fresh take, and I needed
Yeah.
just that space to fathom out what that was. I didn't have the instant answer.
And what I love is that our audience is
Yeah,
there when we come back. They're waiting.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, I'm often amused when I look and I go, wow, the downloads are, and just like us. I mean, I know that I go back and listen to podcast episodes, and it's the title to me that often is the game changer. That
right.
when I listen to somebody else's show, it's like, oh, that's just what I need right now.
Exactly.
So I'm sure you can talk to that how important it is to name the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's what you just said, Carol. Like you saw the title and it drew you in. And I think
right.
that's so important because people are looking for, I mean, we're busy. We're busy people, right?
Yes,
And so
right,
when we're looking for something to listen to, it has to pop out. It has to stand out from the other titles. And just we're gonna scroll through. So we're looking at, okay,
right,
what does Demetria have today? And scroll, scroll, scroll. I don't know. And then on to the next podcast. So that's how quick of a time period that we have to grab attention. So those
right.
titles are so important. And we look at keywords and all that kind of thing as well. SEO is important, but really it's about that human connection. What are the pain points of our audience? What kind of answers do they need? And let's scream that in the title so that when they see it, they say, absolutely, I need this today. I need to listen to this right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that. And what do you think about length of shows? Because I've gone from longer and depending on I've, had 3 or 4 people together on a show, and then you need a little more time.
Yeah.
But with us, coming back to being this busy, and we only have
Right.
so much time to digest and everything else, what have you found your optimum um,
The
recording time for your
recording times.
clients?
So what I found is solo podcasts, typically a little bit shorter. I would say
Okay.
about 20 minutes, 30 minutes
Hmm.
at the most. And some
Right.
people really, really enjoy the 15 minute short
Right.
snippets. But
Yes.
for interviews, a bit longer because people are invested. They want to hear what is happening in that conversation. And I can't remember the exact stat. I have it somewhere, but there's a statistic that shows that listeners are very willing to listen all the way through to the end if if the topic resonates with them, they'll
Right,
take it with them on the go and listen to the entire show. So there's
right.
really no hard fast rule. I would
Hmm.
say that for interviews especially, no worries, because people are willing to listen to the whole conversation.
Right.
They don't want to miss out on
Yes.
what's being said. So
Right.
yeah, I would say like even up to an hour. I know there are
Right.
people who've surpassed the hour and gone into the two
Yes.
hour mark and 3 hour
Right.
mark, and people
Right.
are listening. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think really it's up to the host and how comfortable you are with the longer episodes and so forth. But anywhere
Right.
from 15 minutes to an hour seems to be average.
The average, yeah.
Yeah.
No, so that's a lot of wonderful advice. Dimitri, where can listeners learn more about your work and how to connect with you?
Yeah, so thank you for asking. I love sharing all of these resources about podcasting at soulpodcasting.com. You can also find me on Instagram at soulpodcasting and DM me there. I love interaction and engaging. So if you DM me there, I'm likely going to respond within a couple hours or the same day.
Perfect.
But yes, you can find everything, all the resources. I have lots of downloads, free workbooks, and I also have my podcast there, soulpodcasting.com.
Right. I was going to ask you about your show. So your show
Yeah.
is called soulpodcasting.com.
Yes, it's at soulpodcasting.com/podcast, but you'll find it when you, yeah,
Perfect. You'll find it on the website,
yeah.
and I will, listeners, make sure to have all these links in the show notes so that you can find Dimitri really easily and quickly, which is important, and then be able to check out her resources to help you. And if you've been sitting on the fence and thinking, oh, should I, shouldn't I hope that this episode is going to inspire step in and contact Dimitri and just see what that looks like.
Yeah,
You know, take that first step. Because
take that
without
leap.
taking the first step, you never know what could be ahead of you.
That's
So,
right.
Dimitri, what would be the biggest takeaway that you would hope that listeners would take away from this episode?
Yeah, just start where you are, start with a passion, and go at your own pace. There's so many other things that I could say that would probably take another 30 minutes, but that is the summary of it all for me is just get started. And if it's something you really are thinking that might be something you want to do in your business, especially as a coach, I highly recommend that you think about it and then get help in starting. Get someone to talk with you about it, talk through the process with you, and it just makes things so much easier. And then go ahead and launch that podcast.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Well, I just want to say a sincere thank you for being my guest today. And I think this is an important one. It's just fresh and inspiring, and I just hope that others will listen and reconsider some of, their marketing and how things can be different and how enjoyable podcasting is. So there's a definite element of joy having conversations
Yeah,
and learning about what other people do. So
yeah,
thanks to everybody for listening to our conversation today. And I invite you to share this episode with others. And I also encourage you to embrace your own way of connecting, inspiring, and creating, hence the name of my show. So let your choices bring a sense of ease and flow into your world. And once again, Dimitri, thank you for being my guest. And until the next episode, take care.
thank you so much.